We are counting down the days to Essen Spiel 2024.
So here's my 10 games I'm most looking forward to.
Hi, I'm Julian, this is Libby, and together we make up BoxedMeeples. Well, the big one is on the horizon, the world's largest board game convention, expo, Essen Spiel 2024. There's going to be thousands of board games available to play there, and we've whittled down our favourite 10 to make a list of the 10 games we are most looking forward to.
Yeah, I am super excited. I've been to Essen a couple of times, as we said in your video, but this is going to be your first visit. So really excited for you to see the craziness that is the size of some of these halls and how busy it all is. But yet it's still somehow super exciting to, you know, even though stands you can barely get anywhere near, it's still great to be there and see all that fun stuff that Essen has to hold. So
yeah,
excited.
So with thousands of different board games, we found a great way of whittling those down was to use the Tabletop Together tool.
Yes, this is designed by our friend Peter, who also designed a game that we love, Starship Captains, that you might know of. And it sort of links up to the BGG page. It tells you, have you pre-ordered it? Can it be pre-ordered? How much do you like it? You can sort of color code them. And when it comes to actually visiting the convention, you can actually print it out per hall and plan your way around to try and be the most efficient whilst you're there. But it's really helped us with all the preview stuff, all the things that are new for the show. You can filter through that, so it's been great to use that to see what's new coming up that we're interested in.
Well, it's time to find out what you're interested in. So this is your first of the 10 games you're most excited about for Essen Spiel 2024.
Let's get into it.
So first on the list is Wandering Galaxy, a Crossroads game, and this comes from Plaid Hat Games.
Yes, we haven't actually played either of the other two in this kind of, I don't know, trio so far. So you've got Forgotten Waters and you've got Freelancers, which kind of engage in this same sort of use an app, go on a journey. I think you're working sort of together as a team. They're cooperative kind of games. And they seem very sort of go on this adventure kind of base thing, obviously in different worlds with that more sort of piratey theme for Forgotten Waters. And this is obviously in space. It looks like it's got that kind of comical Starcadia quest sort of spacey feel about it, which I know is something you'll particularly really like. Potentially maybe the girls would engage with it as well. They really like co-op games too. Or maybe just something that the two of us could play together. Potentially it'd be interesting to see how I feel about whether it's suitable for them in terms of age group or not once we sort of engage in it. But we've wanted to play each of the other two as they've come out and just not had opportunity to sort of get them or play someone else's copy or anything. So I really want to see sort of how the mechanisms work in person, and maybe this one will be the one to sort of start our journey off in space. We do love space games, so
yeah. What I'm really excited about in this is just the idea you can go anywhere and kind of do anything, and I do like the kind of combination of app and board game. I know some people aren't keen on that kind of thing, but I think it does kind of work really well together.
Yeah, we liked how it worked in sort of games like Destinies and things like that. I think those that do it well, it really works well in. Yeah.
Now, I've often talked about how much we love kind of Asian influence games, particularly kind of more traditional Asian games. So Tea Garden, I wasn't surprised to see that on your list.
I mean, the box does look really
beautiful
pretty.
Box.
It was very eye-catching to look at when you're sort of scrolling through all of these new games coming out. And then I read some of the description where you've got deck building and you've also got worker placement. And it's like, oh, well, some of our favourite games have those mechanisms in them as well. So interesting play of how those would work together. And then I read a little bit more about it, and it was talking about how you use different colours of tea leaf, and you have the green ones, or you can sort of ferment them to turn them into the black tea, right, yeah, which might then need to be aged. I assume that the aged black tea becomes more and more expensive or worth more, is my assumption. So this sort of leaf gathering and aging becomes a currency, as far as I can understand, but obviously I don't know much about the game yet. So it sounds like it ticks a lot of boxes for us in terms of what it does. A good length of game, so I think it's going to have a bit of bite in terms of the mechanisms all coming together, and we really like those ones that have a bit of deck building, a bit of worker placement, a bit of resource management, and you've got different sort of elements to juggle in that. So I think it sounds like it's going to be right up our street.
Yeah, I'm always kind of excited because there's so many different kind of worker placement games. You can't just make a straight worker placement game anymore. So I do like the idea of how people twist the format and change it to make it, engaging and interesting and different from all the other different worker placement games. And often it's kind of that difference which attracts you to a certain game over another one. And like I said, really lovely theme. So
yeah, hopefully this one will be our cup of tea.
Ah. Now, I'm going to mispronounce the title for this one from Grand Gamers. Tíonanog.
It's a sort of Irish Celtic sort of style theme in this one. And what grabbed me was the sort of storytelling element to it. When I was doing sort of some of my education and things like that, one of my master's projects was about how different people tell stories across the world, and things like the Silk Road, where people would pass stories on and legends, and how you end up having similar stories from different cultures turned into different things, kind of that Chinese whispers kind of thing. And so how different cultures evolve, and with storytelling being sort of a key element within that has always been interesting. And it seems like that game kind of plays on telling those stories in the way that you play the cards out to best tell these different stories, and which colours are matching up, and how you're gaining points through storytelling. So, I mean, I don't know much about the game play other than you are playing cards in it, as to how much that sort of theme of storytelling comes through. But I really like the idea of that. And we don't have a huge amount in our collection that has that sort of more Irish theme.
I know you're a big fan of Inish.
Yes.
And you really love the art style of that. It's a game we haven't played a lot of, but I know you've been keen to. And this is a shorter game. This is 30 to 45 minutes. So it's more like a starter game.
Yeah.
Or, a midweek game where you want to play something that perhaps thought-provoking, but you don't want to invest hours and hours and hours in it. You just want to go to bed. So, yeah, like a bedtime story.
A bedtime story. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Now, Adam's Apple Games released Planet Unknown not so long ago, which is a Lazy Susan space game that we really enjoyed the tile placement of it. So is that why you're excited by Tatsumi? That
definitely is an element, and I think we'll be going to that stand anyway, because of course there's an expansion of Planet Unknown coming up. But I did look through, and it's got dragons in it. So, I mean, I love a dragon. And it seems interesting the way that the resources work from here. So people control the dragons, they can fly around, they each represent different elements. But it seems like there's sort of a 3D board of resources where the resources are on the board. You're not kind of having to refill between rounds and things.
You have a round and go straight into the next one. So it's quick to play. Another 30 to 40 minute game. So it's quick to play for the type of game it is.
Yeah. And it seems like you can plan ahead in terms of strategizing what elements are where and what you're needing to collect. So I'd be intrigued to see how that plays out in sort of that 3D resource management, sort of a resource gathering, and with these lovely elemental dragons in it. I mean, it sounds like a great theme.
Yeah, there's not a great deal of information out about this game yet, but I think it's going to be one of those kind of sleeper hits, that people kind of discover and see there, and then suddenly everyone is talking about this game that you've never heard of. I think this could be one of those type situations.
Yeah.
We've talked about short games. We've had a duo of short games. Speakeasy by Eagle-Gryphon Games is not going to be a short game.
It's not going to be a short game, but it's going to be epic. I mean, just reading the description that they've done so brilliantly, it takes you to Manhattan. You're there in the middle of the mobs. You're controlling Manhattan. You're putting out your influence. You're doing dirty dealings, illicit tradings, and you know, you're there running your speakeasy. And you might even upgrade that to a casino.
Oh,
yeah.
You've been excited about Lacerda games for a very long time.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's many of them on my absolute must-play list. I don't know how we've managed to avoid them for so long. Everyone keeps promising me we'll play this one, and somehow it hasn't happened yet. But this one has. Yeah, this has sprung straight to them. I mean, if we were ranking, I think this would be number one on my list.
I mean, theme-wise, you know, we're always quite excited about kind of that Prohibition era. America's is just intriguing kind of period of time anyway. So fedora hat wearing games are always
going to be there.
Always on our agenda.
On our engagement trip, we went to LA and we went to this sort of hidden speakeasy bar, and they hand you the cocktails in a book that opens up, and they go some light reading for you, and then there's a cocktail inside. You know, we love engaging in all of that crazy theme. There was a hidden room behind a door-shaped picture frame. You know, just fantastic stuff. So I mean, I've got some great plans as to how to plan my speakeasy when we play that game, because, you know, I've got that Vegas experience.
Yeah, and it finally might be the start of your kicking off your Lacerda collection, because let's face it, you're not going to stop at one.
Absolutely not.
So you've gone for Saltfjords.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Aporta game. So they brought us Revive a couple of years ago, which is such a fantastic game. I think I might have brought that one home from Essen, actually.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Absolutely adore that game. It's absolutely brilliant. And I love that theme, Northern Norwegian and sort of circa 19th century, I think it's saying. And what are we going to do? Are we going to establish our town? Are we going to go off and do a load of fishing? How are we going to make an environment that is livable in? Right. And it looks like it's got some depth to it, and I would expect that from Aporta games, having played Revive. But yeah, the cover looked fantastic, had a boat on it, and I was right there.
If I was to describe things you love, if it wasn't Vikings, it would be sailing and boats and diving.
Yeah.
And Board and Dice have chucked out a game called Reef Project.
They have. And I don't think it's going to be their most popular on their stand. I've seen so much great stuff about Minos. I think that's Bronze Age set. And I'm sure I am intrigued for that game too, and I will look at that game too. But theme-wise, it doesn't sort of have me running at it initially, whereas Reef Project, bring me that game that gives me all of that. Well, it's about conserving the oceans, cleaning them up. It's a serious topic. You've got to hire the right people. You've got to clean up any pollution. You've really got to sort of sustain the reef, which I think is a great topic for us all to be thinking about currently. Make sure that coral is cool enough to not be bleached. And I know that the way that Board and Dice make their games, it's going to have some bite to it. There's going to be some interesting gameplay there, whereas I think sometimes that kind of sea and coral reefs and all that pretty stuff does tend to lend itself to the sort of slightly lighter weight, family weight games. And it's nice to have something hopefully a bit chunkier,
right? Yeah,
that does still engage in a theme that I find super compelling and sort of takes me back all through my childhood and growing up.
You spent your life diving, so.
Yeah, sailing and diving since I was sort of 2 or something. and well, not diving at that age because that would be dangerous, bad parenting, but certainly sailing at that point. And I've done a lot of diving throughout my adulthood and done some conservation projects and stuff like that. So to have something that I do know a little bit about, no professional, but I do know a bit about it, is great. And it's a theme that I really engage in, and from a company that I absolutely adore their games, and some of my absolute favourites are
the board and dice games.
They absolutely are. So we'll definitely be checking out their stand, and it will be that, but there'll be an awful lot of other games on that stand that I'll be looking at closely at as well.
So my list, I talked about Video Game Champion by Arcane Wonders, and I'll be making a beeline to their stand just to see that. But you'll be looking at a different game. You'll be looking at Mezen when you're there.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the front of this game and I thought, oh my gosh, it's Christmas.
Yeah, I called it the Christmas jumper game. It looks like a Christmas jumper.
It looks like a sort of like a puzzly kind of abstracty kind of matching patterns kind of game. So I'm assuming it'll be relatively lightweight.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes to have a little Christmassy sort of get you in the mood game that is that lighter weight that you can sort of play with family and things as well, or a busy evening before you start wrapping presents and things, we can play a little game of Mezen. I mean, it looks beautiful from what I've seen of it.
Abstract games traditionally have been games that are easier to explain to people, because you don't have to necessarily explain where you are, the setting, what's going on. When it's more visual, I think people sometimes learn it quicker. And like you said, the theme just makes it perfect kind of for those winter nights.
I'm excited. I mean, that box just looks gorgeous.
I kind of feel like I need to eat some Stollen while playing it.
I'm up for that.
What is stronger than wood? Ironwood.
Gosh, you're so funny.
And so Ironwood from Mindclash.
Yes. I mean, Mindclash have done some amazing games. Tricarion's one that we have in our collection and we absolutely love. And this is a 2-player game, which we do play quite a lot of 2 players. We've got a whole collection in the other room, which seems to keep expanding. But what interests me about this one is how asymmetric it is. And we do like asymmetric games. Roots up in our favourites among others. But then this looks like we're going to have totally different objectives, different ways of playing our cards, different areas that we're allowed to be in. And it's sort of a battle of wills, but also trying to achieve the thing we're trying to achieve first. So one person's trying to sort of get 3 totems from around and do something that way, and then hide out into the woods, and then the other person's trying to do something else. It'd be interesting to see how that plays. But I know it's on quite a lot of people's radars. People were very interested when it was announced earlier this year. Way before Gen Con, I think I've heard about this one. People are asking us, are you interested in Ironwood, on our comments quite a long time ago. And yes, we absolutely are. And I'm looking forward to getting first sights at it at Essen for sure. Yeah,
I do like asymmetrical games. A lot of the games you've been mentioning so far have had solo modes, but I'm kind of excited about how this is going to work for solo play as well, because it seems to be geared towards a 2-player kind of duel. So I'm kind of intrigued to explore how that's going to work solo.
Yeah, that will be interesting. And you particularly like to do the sort of solo sessions. If you've missed some of those on the channel, then you've done that with varying games, and I keep meaning to, but I don't often get a chance to play a solo as much as you do. So I have noticed that a lot of mine do have solo modes on there, which is obviously a very popular trend, and maybe they'll edge me into doing a bit more solo playing myself.
Now, can you honestly tell me that you didn't pick Fall from Little Rocket Games solely because of the cover?
Nope. No, I looked at that game and thought, oh, look at that little fox. It looks like a fen. How cute. And then I read more about the game and thought, okay, this is cute. I like this idea. So you're both building out this kind of autumnal ecosystem. I think it's a 2-player only from memory. And you're having a lovely time, you know, the flora, the fauna, and all of that stuff. But what's really interesting is you each have different scoring objectives and you don't know what each other's trying to score. Yeah. So as you play along and you're playing out this different ecosystem and leaves and different things there, then you're kind of trying to work out, why have they done that? What are they trying to score then? If they've done that, that's interesting. And then you're trying to work out, can you put that to your advantage? Can you guess what they're scoring and why? And can you make that help you to score even more?
Yeah, I do love that idea that you are trying to obtain your objective, but not give away what you're doing. So there's some opportunities here. Do you deliberately play something different to try to wrong foot your opponent so they don't know what you're doing? But in so doing, you may accidentally just be helping them out. And maybe they'll be like, oh, well, that served me well.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know why we haven't seen this kind of shared board, different objective style game before. Maybe you have, I've just not been aware of it. But the art for this does look lovely.
Yeah, and there is a really lovely little fox on the front. And yeah. Fan likes being in games, and he likes games that have foxes in them. He liked the Fox Project, so and I felt like you had Happy Corgi at the end of your list.
I did, yeah, because it looked a bit like Fen.
So I mean, I should probably have rolled with that tradition as well. So now every time we have to find a Fen game at the end of our list.
We're not just populating our shelves with games that feature things that look a bit like our dog. No, honestly, this isn't what we're doing. Not at all.
Not at all.
So they've been your 10 games you've been most looking forward to at Essen Spiel 2024.
I have indeed. Of course, there were tons of games to go through. There's loads more that I'm interested in hoping to look at, but I mean, still would love to hear your suggestions in case I've missed any of those. If you've missed Julian's list, do go over onto that one and check that out. And we will also have coming up a list of expansions that we are interested in. We purposely have left those off of our list, so we will have 10 expansions that we're looking to check out as well coming up soon. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, then please do that and you won't miss that.
Yeah, and of course, if you're looking to buy some of these games, particularly if you're not going to Essen, a good place to go is your friendly local game shop. And for us in the southeast of England, that is Chaos Cards, where you can be able to pre-order a lot of these games that are going to be shown at Essen to be able to obtain them when they come out. And if you are shopping at Chaos Cards, don't forget that we do always have a discount code in the description to save you some money at the checkout. So maybe worth considering that. And as always, thanks so much for watching.
Bye.